Welcome to Fun with the Science Club, where we highlight local and regional scientists and the work which they are doing in our society today. Today's club we have Mr. Donovan Smith, a core engineer at Ozone Wireless. Thank you for being in the club, Mr. Smith. Can you give a brief description of your career path?
Well, again, they just thanks for having me. In terms of being an engineer technically is a scientist. And a scientist is a different field.
Yes, I do get that.
However, from the time, in terms of being an engineer, I always wanted to be an engineer from basically the age of 6. When I was first introduced to the art of computer programming by a good friend of mine now, a little older now, called Brian Small. He used to do computer programming back in primary school. Then I went on to the Waterford University, we call it Commonwealth School, up and on, right?
Okay, a Commonwealth.
Correct. Then I did sciences, did a lot of sports, and from Commonwealth I went on to the Barris Community College to do some electronic engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And for electronic engineering, I went on to UE to do computer science with a minor in electronics. And then from there, I migrated to England to do my master's in broadband high-speed data communication. So there's a lot of studying on the scientific path, but more of the applied science path.
Yeah.
Right. I have a lot to thank to not only to the Lord, but to my dad, who actually was an engineer. So basically following in his footsteps, even though I wear bigger shoes than he does. And it was cool. To date, it has not failed me. Engineering has not failed me. Engineering, I would say engineer. One, you're always current. 2, you're always seeing things first. And 3, engineers about providing solutions to problems.
Yeah.
You got to remember the great Albert Einstein said, you cannot solve any problem with the same level of thinking, which means you got to be advanced to solve that particular problem.
Yeah. Problem solving, that is something that all engineers have in common.
Correct.
Yes. And is there any projects which you're working on today?
Well, being an engineer at Ozone and being in telecoms over the last 10 to 12 years, you're always working on something new. Okay, so being an engineer at Ozone Wireless, you got to make sure that we have full optimization of our network to ensure a good quality experience for our end users. And that's basically it in terms of what I'm working on. You're always looking at something, you're always doing research from 4G, 5G, MPLS, carrier grade Ethernet, carrier aggregation, different technologies to look to implement to see how it works and see what would be the next forerunner within not only this diaspora, but in the international region as well.
Yes, you mentioned 5G. Is that really what is how close is that to being a thing? Because I know right now it's 4G,
well,
LTE.
In the telecoms perspective, 5G is actually being tested in the Asian markets. So if you go to a source called Telecoms Asia, you will see a lot of work being done by vendors such as Huawei, Ericsson, ZTE, in that realm, doing a lot of research. So to be current, you attend a lot of webinars. If you can and you have the financial backing, attend a lot of seminars to see where you can go from point A to point B.
So we'll soon have faster mobile speeds.
Yeah, you have to know. Just tell your customers to join Ozone and see what happens.
So is it possible that you can provide the name of a scientist or engineer which you look up to?
Well, there's Albert Einstein, there's Alexander Graham Bell, who unfortunately are dead.
Yeah.
But in terms of today, you have to look at people like Professor Kambis Mandani, Dr. Mahi Lohi, Owen DeLong, Tim Berners-Lee, from the internet perspective. These guys who are still alive, that they actually still write papers, and you still Vincent Cerf is another guy who actually write a lot of protocols for the internet, and those guys give you a lot of information, and they're actually cool guys to talk to. So those are the gentlemen that I really look up to from the engineering perspective.
Okay, so these people also work in computer engineering as well?
Correct.
Okay.
These are the guys that actually create the protocols that we actually enjoy today from the internet, the IPv6, those type of protocols.
And you say they're interesting to talk to, so I take it that you have meet these on a personal level?
I met them. I was actually privileged to be in a conference with Owen DeLong, who was part of the engineering task force for the writing of the IPv6 protocol. I saw Vincent Cerf as well in another another conference. We call it ARIN conference, American Registry for Internet Numbers conference. Yeah.
Exactly where do you see young children excelling in Barbados in science?
From young children, or the younger generation, I should say, because I'm still young. So the younger generation,
Yes.
I would say, in excelling in science, in terms of robotics.
Robotics.
To become in engineering, you must, and the way the brain reacts, especially the younger generation, they must see a result. The easiest way to see a result is if you get to make something and see an LED or light coming on. You put two circuits together, two resistors, and a capacitor together, connect it, a battery, and see a light come on. And then you go to the next step. You must have a result-oriented program, and then the research behind it will then come. Okay, the theoretical, the equations, the mathematics, the physics behind it. That will then come in a later setting. But for a developer perspective, I would personally push robotics. I would push animation through the robotics. I would push artificial intelligence as well from a robotic perspective.
And most children probably think computer engineering is writing code for making programs, but there's also another side of programming which you do. So would you enlighten them on it?
So basically, I'm actually a telecoms engineer, which is a subset of computer engineering. And in computer engineering, you have various subsets. You have the software side, you have the hardware side, you have the R&D side. I do more of the hardware and the R&D side. Okay. In terms of the software side, I would do software side will come in the configuration of equipment. I do that as well. But in terms of writing programming, the hardcore programming, that is a side that I strayed away from because I was not really fully interested in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like saying in front of the screen for hours.
No, I still sit in front of the screen for hours. But I do research, I do designs, planning, prepare, implementation, optimization, that sort of stuff.
Okay. And since you're in telecommunication, I know recently there's a lot of debate about use of technologies in schools. And where's your position on that?
Use of technology in schools is good and it is bad.
Yes.
It must be managed. It must be controlled.
I agree.
It must have an objective. Okay, and once you do that, that's fine. You also must have the requisite training for the implementers of the technology. So the teachers that are going to manage the technology, they must not be afraid of using it. They must use it to their advantage. Yes, it's all well and good to use the Facebook, the Twitter, and whatever social media, but from an educator perspective, you can use the MathCAD, you can use PSpice, you can use these different programs that actually set the exams and have educational programming for the youngsters.
And apart from, you mentioned different programs which can help generate tests for them. Which hardware now would you say would be a benefit for school children?
Well, I mean, a basic laptop, basic notebook, basic tablet. I mean, they're off the shelf now. They're all consumer electronics. So once you have Intel P5, Intel, i7 processor, something basic, it will work for them. You don't want to advance because they're not going to get the full use of it. You want something basic that can do basic word processing, run a little odd program, mathematical program, and you're good to go.
And the last question now, what advice would you give to young children, the younger generation, as you say, we're still young here, right? What advice would you give them when they want to come on in this field?
There are no shortcuts to success. Okay? Study hard, play hard, read a lot, read some more, and always keep pushing the envelope to learn as much as you can. Never stop learning. And that's the only advice I can give to any young engineer coming out or any budding person that wants to get in the engineering field. Never be afraid to learn.
And there you have it. This has been Fun with the Science Club, and we interviewed today Mr. Donovan Smith, a core engineer at Ozone Wireless. See you next time.